Hi, my name's Bethany and I'm part of the team of Love to Worship. Worship for me has always been how I really get close to God and how I really encounter Him, how I see Him move in my life and how I see breakthrough. However, at times there has been a barrier between me fully letting go in worship. If I'm alone in the car or at home worshipping, just part of my everyday life, I could let go, I'd sing a new song, I could hear God so clearly. But then you take that into a church environment, a meeting, an event, and I would automatically put up a barrier. In a church environment or during a meeting or a gathering of any sort where there was worship, I would find that there would be a barrier in place, especially when I was leading worship, where I couldn't fully let go because I was too worried about what other people were thinking. I couldn't do that arms high and heart abandoned, completely let go. I had a perception of perfection that I was scared of breaking, that if I were completely let go, people would really see who I am, and that would then inhibit my way of worshipping. On the outside, I wanted to appear whole, happy, in control, like everything was fine, that so many of us do nowadays, that we want to have this look from the outside that our lives are amazing, but in actual fact we are broken. And for me that was very much the case, that inside I had so much battle and turmoil going on that I let it step in the way of something that could really release me, and which was my worship. However, because I then would become so vulnerable in worship, because that is where I see my breakthrough, that was directly stopping me going into what my true calling is, which is to be a worship leader. For me, I had to try and find a way to physically be able to stop being vulnerable in front of people when I was leading worship, which for me became clinging onto my guitar, and it became sort of like my comfort blanket. I would find that I had an excuse if I was playing and leading that, I can't put my hands up and I can't completely let go because I'm playing the song. So I needed to concentrate on playing the song and I'm leading people into worship. But what I was actually doing was just hiding behind what is my greatest gift, but I was preventing myself from feeling what I was allowing others to feel through that moment. So on the day of the first Love to Worship event, which I was one of the worship leaders for, I woke up in the morning and really felt God saying to me that today was a day of breaking comfort. For me that came as a bit of an unnerving word to hear, but I listened and I heard God say about how when Jesus sacrificed himself and he died for us on the cross, that he wasn't only fully God but fully human and felt absolutely everything that we would feel. He was in complete agony and not in control of that moment of what we as humans were doing, but he was completely unselfish in that moment and just gave everything because he knew that God was there in that moment, and that was the barrier that could break everything for us to bring this absolute breakthrough for humanity. So going to the event that night, I'd had a chat with one of the other team members. I was saying I was feeling a bit nervous because I didn't just feel that word was for the event that night, but it was actually something really personal for me. And I really felt that within me that I was getting so anxious about it, that there was something really significant going to happen in my life that night. The event started and everything was going great, the atmosphere was incredible, and it came to me leading one of my first couple of songs in the set. I started to play the first chord of the song What a Beautiful Name, and absolutely nothing happened. There was no sound, absolutely nothing, couldn't hear a thing. So I started to signal to the sound guy at the back, can you put me up in the monitor, I can't hear anything. And he was fiddling, I could see what was going on, I was trying everything and there was just absolutely no sound coming out, and he just signaled to me that the guitar was completely dead. Up until this point there had been absolutely no issues whatsoever. There was fresh batteries in the guitar, there was no reason for it to break other than I knew that God was pushing me to do something in that moment. I handed over my guitar to a member of the team who came up just before the actual words of the song started. And as I went to sing the first line of the song, I felt this absolute rush of peace flow over my body, yet an absolute banging, racing heart that I've never felt before, that I can only experience as the actual encounter of God physically happening in that moment, that I knew that something significant was going to happen. I started to sing the song and I just completely gave it over to God, and I was like, if there's something that you need me to say, then we're just going to say it. In that moment, I felt fully free to be who I am in God, and that he was just saying that during that song, What a Beautiful Name, it was so significant in my life at the time and got me through a really, really hard time in my life, that he just said that this is where the barrier breaks and the comfort is broken, and that this is the kind of moment that as a Christian, it's in your faith walk, it's something that you will always remember and that you will always change by. And for me, that was really a significant point in my journey of faith. Regardless of the fact that I've been a Christian for most of my life, there's always that moment where something really changes. And at the Love to Worship event, that for me was that point of stepping out into really releasing to who God called me to be as a worship leader. And since then, I've seen such a significant change, not just in the way that I lead worship, but in my personal life. I feel like I'm being blessed in many different ways, and that I'm just overflowing in a grace and a confidence that I didn't have before. I don't know how I ended up finding myself stepping down off the stage and actually singing within the room with the people, and we were called out to step out of our comfort zone and let that barrier down, whatever that may be, and to just not be so confined within a space. That Jesus wasn't comfortable when he died for us, so why should we be comfortable behind a seat, be comfortable in our worship, when we should be pushing that barrier and boundary further and further every time? Love to Worship has really got the spirit of an encounter and bringing in the presence of God and really releasing that into people. And each event we're seeing more and more of that happen, and we're just chasing encounter, and it's so exciting to see what happen. For me, it was a huge break in comfort and breaking barriers and really starting to tear down those walls to be released into who I am. And that can only really be given to God, that he's the only one who could do that. And each event he is more present, and we're so expectant for what is going to happen at the next ones.